Obviously combustion engine is suck, squeeze, bang, blow. But as the piston's going down, your inlet valve is open and that sucks your fuel mixture in. That's one cycle. So your second stroke is compressing it. You then get the spark plug, ignites it, and then it blows it back down. And as it comes up, the exhaust valve opens and it pushes the exhausted gases out. Why it's called an exhaust. What have we done?
So this is the bike that had the cracked frame?
Yeah. So obviously all that's repaired, all painted up, rebuilt the rear wheel bearings, rebuilt the clutch pedal, rebuilt the clutch unit, rebuilt the switch because you wanted the push button on it, rebuilt the brake lever, bushing, an arm, readjusted all the front brake, checked all the brake linings, put all the tab washers on the right way round because they were all wrong on the front forks. So I rebuilt the stand. I've got to just blow that in with a bit of paint. So what they do is they're so loose and shitty and no strength in them at all, they just, the two legs just do that. So if you put those cross braces in there, yeah?
Oh yeah.
It stops the stands doing that basically.
So those cross bits weren't in their original?
No.
Alright, okay.
No, and it's a repro stand as well. I think a lot of the repro ones, the material that they use is so shit compared to the original, but I don't think they were ever any good, to be perfectly honest with you. Just check the timing, so just want to run it up now.
Have you started it yet?
No.
At all?
No.
Okay.
I think I might have done once, I can't remember, but let's fire it up. I'm more interested to see if it makes any noise in second gear, because that's what he came in for basically.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Fuel. Right, try again. Just give it a general tune up now, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just that gearbox was the thing to check, because that was his main concern. You know, couldn't get it in and out of second gear, and it was making horrible noises.
So what did that end up to be then?
The clutch, what it was, the outer, this piece clutch plates fit in there, yeah? They only go in one way, but basically when it was coming in and out, that all goes up and down to release the clutch.
Yeah.
But on Malcolm's one, this casing was dented in. So instead of that staying where it should do, the whole clutch was pulling in and out.
Oh, right, okay.
So you weren't getting any clutch. You're getting enough just to ride it.
Yeah.
But you need it fully released to let the gearbox slow down.
Okay.
Before you crunch them into gears. See this? Now that piece of metal there is the valve guide broken. It won't stop the way it runs, but it obviously isn't ideal.
What's the long-term implication of that then?
Barrel out new valve guides. So I'll ring Malcolm this morning. It's obviously been like it a long time, so your valve isn't running in the true length of your valve guide, because that valve guide comes down to here.
Yeah.
On the inside. If you look on one of the other videos, when we're putting the barrels together.
Okay,
and
yeah.
I remember I scraped the paint off the bottom of it because the spring didn't seat properly,
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever, or this, no, the cap didn't seat properly. Right, if you look around here, they've painted them. These were in two different boxes. See how that one's a nice flat edge?
Oh yeah.
See, they're risen, where
Yeah.
they probably just dipped them, but you don't want that because that has a gasket on there which seals that to that. So that one, if you put it on there, look.
Yeah.
If you put it on there,
Yeah.
that's how far that should come out, and the valve spring goes over it. So that shiny piece you can see in there is the actual valve, which obviously isn't ideal. But it was obviously running, or has been running, but the valve guide is physically snapped off. See that piece there, look. That?
Yeah.
That's your cup that goes over with a gasket on top.
Yeah.
That's your cylinder head. The bit in the middle is the valve guide. Obviously that isn't in the middle anymore, it's snapped off. Don't quite know how you'd snap one off, but unless the valve's bent. But it's something that does need to be addressed. So I can ring him this morning and let him know, but it basically needs new valve guides.
Okay.
And that's turning the whole valve guide. And eventually, if that isn't moving on there between those two, that'll wind that back up where it should be. So the gap's closed up. Now we're just adjusting that. There you go, that's locked up, so that's coming off now. As long as I can get in there to adjust the tappets, you know. The valve guide's gone up. See, that being an inlet valve, it might be sucking a bit of air in. Who knows?
That's going to push out the timing of it.
It'll just make it run a bit lumpy, you know. But he was quite happy with the way it was running as it was, so. Let's turn in the valve spring, so it will pop eventually and come off. All the tappets will fall out, and then you've got to take the barrel off, so that's a bit dodgy, that. It compresses the spring too much, and the collets fall out the bottom.
Yeah.
You've got to take the barrel off. I don't want to get into that, we can help it. For the ultimate performance, you have to have a gap here between the bottom of the valve and your tappet block, yeah?
Okay.
And as the engine heats up, that expands. If you don't have a gap there,
Yeah.
as it expands, it will leave the valve open at the top.
Right.
Then your gases aren't sealed in the combustion chamber, they can leak out.
Okay.
So you have to have a gap there, and the ultimate setup is by thousandths of an inch.
Yeah.
Obviously combustion engine is suck, squeeze, bang, blow. So your inlet, as the piston's going down, your inlet valve is open, yeah?
Okay.
And that sucks your fuel mixture in. That's one cycle, it's a 4-stroke engine.
Yeah.
So your second stroke is compressing it, yeah? You then get the spark plug, ignites it, then it blows it back down, that's your third stroke. Then as it comes up, the exhaust valve opens and it pushes the exhausted gases out, why it's called an exhaust.
Okay. And if those are a thou out, whatever it's going to be.
Thou ain't going to make any difference, but if you get them too tight, you're better off running them slightly loose than tight.
Okay.
Because if it gets too hot, and it'll just it'll blow by on the gases.
And when you're riding it or starting it, how will that show?
Irregular, running, you know, all sorts of shit.
You'll be able to hear it.
Yeah, feel it, hear it. Yeah. But as I say, we've had all this before. Every single one of these bloody things are different. They all run different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you do to them. They're just, well, they're old, aren't they? You know, it's one of them. Oh, that one's up. So if number one cylinder or front cylinder exhaust is all the way up, yeah, you know that the rear cylinder is on the bottom of its cam lobe, so that's all the way down. You do them in opposites.
Yeah.
So we'll check this one now, and we should have 6/1000 of an inch on an exhaust. That's 5. That's 6. That's a tight 6, but it's slightly warm, so that's okay. So now we'll roll that over. Get this valve to come all the way up. And that's all the way up. And we check this one. The opposite hand, yeah? That's a nice 6. So they're okay. We'll check our inlets. We want 4 thou on them. Can't even see the bloody markings on them anymore. 4. Alright, back cylinder's coming up. And we check the front cylinder. Oh, I'd say that's too tight there. Let's back them off a little bit. Sometimes you can do it just by giving them a little turn on them without doing the lock nut.
Doesn't take much then.
No. There you go. That's 4.
So how tight is too tight? How loose is too loose?
You want a snug fit on your feeler gauge, so you can slide it through, but not, you know, you have to force it a little bit. Just a snug fit on your feeler. I'd say that is much too tight. I can't even get that in there, you see. Right, see, some of them, if the lock nut isn't done up very tight, you can just move them around slightly, but that's too tight, you'll end up snapping that off, so you've got to undo the lock nut.
Okay.
Oh, Jesus Christ. See, that nut's got a split in it, it's a locking nut anyway.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it up that tight, that's ridiculous. About right there. That's literally all they need, just a little pinch. And you check that again.
Not hammering it shut.
No. Right, that's nipped up. So now with that not being locked up so tight, you can just turn that a little bit. Still a little bit too tight, so let's give it a little bit more. That's the sort of noise you want to hear, you know? Just to make sure it's nice. They don't need a lock, because like I say, they're a locking nut as such. That's enough. Hopefully that will stay there now when we do those up. That's pulled that valve guide down again now. Not a lot you can do about that without stripping it, so see our gap's returned again there. See? So ultimately it will affect performance ultimately, so
Next week on the workshop.
that's all the internals of the gearbox. Everything's got a different size, all these shim washers are different sizes. Basically they're worn out, so you've got to start by measuring every single bit before you put it in,
How do you know the gearbox has got problems?
It was jumping out of second gear when you ride it, and generally these gearboxes are just not put together right. They're such a finite thing to get them right. Yeah, it's just worn out basically.
Okay.
As we go through it, I'll show you all the bits.